Hello and welcome back to another episode of Living in Muchness podcast. I am your muchness host, Glenn Agoncillo. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I know you could be doing other things. However, you are choosing to be here, and so I'm just so tickled pink and so full of gratitude. And if you're joining here for the first time, I would like to personally welcome you and let you know that you are just in the right place. So to recap, in episode 1 and 2, I shared 2 of the 6 mantras that I tell myself every day. I'm choosing to experience life as a journey, and I can do hard things. So today, I'm going to be revealing the 3rd of the 6 mantras I tell myself, and that is, I march to the beat of my own drum. So I want to start today with a question, and I want you to really think about this for a second. Who are you listening to? No, seriously. Think about the voices in your head right now, the ones telling you what you should do with your career or your relationship and possibly even your life. Where are these voices coming from? Are they coming from people who've actually done what you're trying to do? Or are they coming from well-meaning friends, family members, or even strangers on the internet who've never actually walked the path you're trying to walk? A few months ago, I was listening to On Purpose with Jay Shetty podcast, and he actually shared this really impactful quote that totally shook me. It actually became an inspiration to my 3rd mantra. I don't remember the exact words of what Jay Shetty said, but it goes a little something like this. Take direction from those who've actually walked your path, not from people who've only watched from the sidelines. Yeah, that totally hit me because I realized how much of my life I've spent taking advice from spectators. I mean, I'm talking about people, I know they mean well and I know they also love me, but people who've never really actually done the thing they're giving me advice about. And I'm making up a story that I'm sure you've experienced that too. So today we're diving deep into this idea. We're going to talk about why we do this, what it costs us, and most importantly, I'm going to share 2 real life stories of people who've marched to the beat of their own drum and in doing so helped others step into their full potential. In fact, they inspire me. You know that saying I just shared? Take direction from people who have walked your path. Well, they sure have, and they actually help me live in my muchness. Because here's what I've learned. The right mentor, the right guide, the right voice at the right time can completely change the trajectory of your life. It has for me, and I'm really excited to really get into this. Let's start with something we can all relate to. You're standing at a crossroad in your life. Maybe you're trying to figure out if you should quit your corporate job to start that business you've been dreaming about. Or maybe you're wondering if it's too late to go back to school for that degree you've always wanted. Perhaps you're 60 and thinking about what the next chapter of your life looks like now that the kids are all grown. Whatever it is, you're standing there and you need guidance. You need direction. So you do what most of us do. You start asking for advice. You talk to your parents, your friends, your coworkers, your neighbors. You even post on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. You read articles, you consume everything you can find. I mean, I know because I've done all of those. And here's what happens. You get lots of opinions. lots of opinions. Your dad tells you to play it safe because that's what worked for him in 1985. Or your friend who's never started a business tells you why your business idea wouldn't work. And your colleague who's been stuck in the same position for 10 years tells you why changing careers is way too risky, especially these days. And suddenly you're drowning in advice from people who've never actually done what you're trying to do. You see, most people give advice based on their fears and not from their experience. They give advice based on what they've observed from a distance, not what they've learned from being in the arena. And I get it, they all mean well, and I genuinely believe that they care about you and they don't want to see you fail or get hurt. But here's the brutal truth. Their fear is not your compass. The person who's never started a business doesn't know what it actually takes to build one. And the person who's never changed careers doesn't understand the actual mechanics of how to make that transition. The person who's never taken a big risk doesn't know what's possible on the other side of that leap. They're mostly spectators. And spectators, no matter how well intentioned, can't coach you through a game they've never played. I mean, I know that for a fact. My husband and I are big basketball and volleyball fans, and there are times when we're watching the sport, or actually I'm going to speak for myself here, like when I'm watching the sport and here I am judging and making calls and questioning the plays that these athletes were doing. I've never played professional basketball. I've never played professional volleyball. I mean, who am I to give advice? So you're probably thinking, okay, Glenn, what's the alternative? You find someone who's actually been there. Someone who has the scars, the wisdom, the battle-tested knowledge. Someone who's walked your path, or a path similar enough that they can actually guide you. And when you do that, everything changes. Now, before we get to those stories I promised you, I want to dig into why this matters so much. Because this isn't just about getting good advice. It's about something much deeper. It's about living in your muchness. There's a phrase from Alice in Wonderland where the Mad Hatter tells Alice, "You're not the same as you were before. You were much more muchier. You've lost your muchness, Alice." Your muchness is that authentic, full, unfiltered version of you. It's you at your most alive, your most creative, and most courageous. It's you before the world told you to shrink, to play small, and to be realistic. And here's what I've learned. Sideline advice kills muchness. In other words, I've allowed people to yuck my yum. Simple as that. When I listen to people who've never done what I'm trying to do, I notice that I start to shrink. I start to second guess myself, and I start to believe that maybe they're right, and maybe I should be playing it safe, and maybe I'm being unrealistic, and perhaps maybe I'm not cut out for this. And bit by bit, I lose myself. I lose my muchness. In my 30 years in the corporate world, I saw this all the time. I saw incredible, talented people. People with brilliant ideas, unique gifts, and massive potential who never stepped into their muchness because they're listening to the wrong voices. The 30-year-old who stays in a soul-crushing job because her parents told them to find one thing you're really great at and do it for the rest of your life because it's security. The 48-year-old who never writes that book because her friends said the market is too saturated. Or perhaps a 22-year-old who gives up on their dream because someone who's never pursued a dream told them it's not realistic. It's heartbreaking. And the sad part, it's also epidemic. I know because I was that and I lived that. But here's the beautiful flip side. When you find the right guide, someone who's actually walked your path, they don't just give you advice. They give you permission. Permission to be bold, permission to trust yourself, permission to live in your muchness. They reflect back to you what's possible because they've lived it. They see the potential in you that the spectators can't see because they've been where you are, and that really changes everything. So let me tell you about two people who did exactly this. Two people who marched to the beat of their own drum and in doing so helped others, like me, step into their full, authentic, muchness-filled lives. Okay, so the first story is about Mel Robbins. Now, you might know her as the powerhouse motivational speaker, the best-selling author of The 5-Second Rule and Let Them, and also the host of the #1 podcast in the world. But what you might not know is how she got there and how radically different her journey was from what anyone expected. When Mel was 41 years old, she was a criminal defense attorney, married with 3 kids, and her life was falling apart. She and her husband are on the verge of bankruptcy. In fact, I believe their house was about to be foreclosed. She was also battling anxiety and depression, where some mornings she literally can't get out of bed. She's drinking too much and her marriage is struggling. She's hit rock bottom. And when she looked around for advice, do you know what people told her? Just get another legal job. It's stable and it's what you know. And Mel, you need to be more realistic and focus on security. Shit, even society told her you're 41, you have kids, and you can't start over now. Every traditional voice, every spectator watching from the sidelines told her some version of, Mel, play it safe. Go back to what you know and stop dreaming. But here's what Mel did that changed everything. One night she was watching a rocket launch on TV and she had this thought that she needed to launch herself out of bed like a rocket before her brain can talk her out of it. So the next morning she counts down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and physically pushes herself out of bed before her feelings can stop her. Guess what? That became the 5-second rule. A simple technique that interrupts your brain's habit from overthinking and self-sabotage. But when people, when she started sharing this idea, a lot of people were skeptical. You're not a neuroscientist. You're not even a psychologist. And what makes you qualified to teach people about their brains? And this is the crucial moment. Mel could have listened to those spectators. She could have believed that she wasn't qualified. Instead, she did something brilliant. She started learning from people who'd actually done what she was trying to do. She studied neuroscience research. She dove into behavioral psychology. She sought out thought leaders who'd built careers on personal development from unconventional backgrounds. She learned from people in the arena, not from people watching from the sidelines. And she trusted one thing that spectators didn't have: her lived experience. She had the scars, the struggles, the real world proof. And within a few years, her TEDx talk became one of the most watched, I believe, like with over 40 plus million views. And her book became an international bestseller. Plus, on top of that, her podcast reached millions of people. But here's the part that really matters for our conversation today. Mel didn't just succeed. She became a mentor who helps others live in her muchness by sharing her actual experience, not theory. What I've learned is that I don't need a degree in psychology and I don't need credentials. What I learned from Mel's journey is that my life experience is my message, that my challenge is my credibility, and stop trying to be who they think I should be and own my story. That validation from someone like Mel who'd actually done it, it changed my trajectory. And here I am now, like podcasting, living in muchness, launching into a major platform, helping people step into their power. My journey has, don't get me wrong, like my journey had its own complexities and evolution, but the principle remains. At that critical moment, I needed guidance from someone who'd walked the unconventional path, not advice from spectators who'd never taken a leap. That's the difference between sideline advice and arena wisdom. Sideline advice says you're not qualified because you don't have the right credentials. Arena wisdom says your lived experience is your greatest credential. Glenn, use it. Mel speaks from the arena. She has the scars from rock bottom. She's walked the path of transforming pain into purpose. And when you learn from someone like that, someone who's actually been where you are, I've discovered to trust myself in a way that spectators never can. This is an example of living in muchness. Choosing to experience life as a journey and believing I can do hard things. And that I march to the beat of my own drums. So let me pause here for a second because I want to address something I'm guessing some of you might be thinking. Okay, but what if I don't have access to a Mel Robbins? And what if I don't know any billionaire mentors? I obviously have not personally met Mel. It's one of my dreams. So Mel, if you're listening, I'd like to meet you and share space with you one day. And here's the truth. You don't need to know famous people. The principle isn't about finding celebrity mentors. It's about being intentional about who you let speak into your life. It's about asking yourself, has this person actually done what I'm trying to do? Or are they speaking from observation, from theory, or from fear? Maybe you're trying to transition into a new career. Instead of asking your friend who's never changed careers, find someone who has, even perhaps like someone in LinkedIn, like a connection or someone in a Facebook group. Maybe you're trying to write a book, and instead of listening to your family member who's never written anything, join a writing community and learn from people who've actually published. Maybe you're trying to build a healthier lifestyle, and instead of taking advice from someone who struggled with the same issues but never overcame them, find someone who's actually transformed their health and learned from their experience. The point is, be intentional. Be selective. Protect your muchness by choosing your guides wisely. Because the wrong voices will make you small. But the right voices will make you believe in the impossible. Which brings me to our second story. This one's different. It's not about business or wealth. It's about how the right person at the right time can help you see your own worth. So let's talk about Fred Rogers. Yes. That Mr. Rogers. The man in the cardigan who talked to children on PBS for over 30 years. But before all that, Mr. Rogers was a young man trying to figure out his path. He'd gone to seminary thinking he was like called to be a minister or a pastor, but something felt off. He didn't feel like he fit the traditional mold of what a minister should be. Then one day he saw television for the first time, and instead of seeing entertainment, he saw possibility. He saw a medium that could reach millions of children and teach them about emotions and self-worth, about kindness. But when he told people he wanted to make television for children, do you know what they said? They said children's TV should be loud and flashy and fast-paced to keep kids' attention. They also said a slow, quiet, gentle approach would never work. And they said he should be more like popular TV shows, more exciting, more commercial, more entertaining. But Mr. Rogers didn't listen to the spectators. Instead, he sought out child development experts, people who'd actually studied how children learn and grow. And he also consulted with psychologists who taught him that children don't need to be entertained, that they need to be seen, they need to be understood, and they need to feel valued. So Mr. Rogers trusted his instincts and created the very famous Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Will you be mine? Exactly the way the way his heart told him to. Slow, quiet, gentle, and authentic. All right, so we've talked about how Mel Robbins and Mr. Rogers inspired me to live in my muchness. Now let's talk about you. How do you actually apply this? And how do you stop taking advice from the sidelines and start learning from people who've actually walked your path? So I'm going to give you 5 practical steps. I'm going to take a pause here so you can go ahead and grab something to write with. Or perhaps you grab your phone and open up the note section and start typing away. All right. Are you ready? Number 1, audit your advisory board. Okay, so this is what you're going to do. You're going to take a moment this week and think about whose advice you're currently following. I want you to write down their names, okay? Then next to each name, I need you to honestly answer this. Has this person actually done what I'm trying to do? You'll be surprised how many people you're listening to who have zero actual experience in the area that they're advising you on. And this isn't about dismissing people you love. It's about being honest about where you're getting your direction. Okay? Number 2, seek arena wisdom. Now, once you know what path you're trying to walk, intentionally seek out people who've walked it. Now, this doesn't mean you need famous mentors. Come on now. Mel, for the second time, I want to meet you. Okay? I want to meet you. Now, what this means is that perhaps reading books by people who've done what you want and joining communities both online or even in person, communities of people who are on the same journey as you, and Reach out to people on LinkedIn or social media who've accomplished what you're trying to work toward, and perhaps finding a coach or a consultant who has actually experienced what it is that you are going through. You can also listen to podcasts from Mel Robbins or Jay Shetty's On Purpose, or hello, Glenn Agoncillo's Living in Muchness podcast. Hello. I mean, the internet has made this easier than more than ever. Like, really, if you think about it, you can learn from people who walked your path, even if you've never met them in person. Okay, now we're going to move on to number 3. Learn to recognize sideline advice. Sideline advice usually sounds like, nobody's doing that. And come on now, you're not qualified. And Glenn, you should play it safe. Arena wisdom sounds like, here's what worked for me when I faced that exact challenge. Or here's a good one. I failed at that 3 times before I figured out this approach. And finally, your unconventional background could be your biggest advantage. Do you hear the difference? One is based on fear, and the other is based on experience and knowledge. Okay, now we're moving on to number 4. Trust your gut when advice feels shrinking. Here's a simple test. After you receive advice, do you feel expanded or contracted? Do you feel more alive, more courageous, or more like yourself? Or do you feel smaller, more fearful, more doubtful, or even perhaps more shameful? Good advice from people who've walked the path usually makes you feel simultaneously challenged and encouraged. It expands you, right? Sideline advice makes you feel like you should shrink or play small or abandon your dreams and your wishes. Your body knows the difference, and pay attention to it. All right, finally, number 5. Become arena wisdom for someone else. Here's the beautiful full circle. Once you've walked the path, you become a resource for others. Whatever you've overcome, whatever you've learned, whatever experience you've gained, that's arena wisdom for someone who's a few steps behind you. That's my new purpose. You don't have to be a billionaire or a celebrity to mentor someone. You just have to be a few steps ahead and willing to share what you've actually learned. Share your scars, your wisdom, your actual experience. Not theoretical advice, but real earned knowledge. Because someone, somewhere out there, someone needs to hear from someone who's actually walked their path. And just like me, maybe that someone is you. So let me bring this all home. My third mantra: I march to the beat of my own drum. You're standing at a crossroads. You're trying to figure out your next move, and voices are coming at you from every direction. And some of those voices mean well, and they love you. They want the best for you. But not all of them have earned the right to direct your path. The person who's never taken a risk cannot tell you how to be brave. The person who's never pursued a dream cannot tell you if yours is worth chasing. The person who's never stepped out of their comfort zone can't coach you through yours. They're spectators. And spectators, no matter how well-intentioned, can't guide you through a game they've never played. So here's my challenge to you this week. Find the people who've actually walked your path. Learn from their scars, their wisdom, their hard-won knowledge. And stop letting spectators steal your muchness, because you have something unique to offer this world. You have gifts, you have talents, perspectives, and potential that deserve to be fully expressed. But that can only happen when you stop shrinking to fit other people's fears and start expanding into your full, authentic self. The right guide won't make you small. They'll help you see just how big you can be. So take direction from those who've actually walked your path. Trust the ones in the arena. Step fully, courageously, by marching to the beat of your drum. So next week, I'll be revealing my fourth mantra that I tell myself every day. I really appreciate our time today, and again, thanks for listening. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. So drop a comment, share a message, share this with someone who needs to hear it. In the meantime, be you, and know that every single part of you is welcome and loved. And finally, live in your muchness. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.